Hello, and welcome to the Stormont special of Question Time, broadcasting live from Lisburn. Hello. And on the panel tonight, leader of the DUP, PaxBritannicus, the leader of the new Unionist Party, Fewbuffalo, the Green MLA for Lagan Valley, and the leader of Northern Ireland Green Party, StyreotypicalLurker, and the Alliance leader, Red Omega 83. Our first question tonight comes from Emily in Belfast. She says, I'm undecided. Why should I vote for you at the upcoming Stormont by-election? We'll go to PaxBritannicus first.
Okay, thank you very much for your question, Emily. I think the very best reason to cast a vote for the DUP at the upcoming by-election is that not only are we pursuing policies which strengthen our links to the rest of the United Kingdom, but we're pursuing a positive legislative agenda to not only make the Union appealing in terms of the money we get from Westminster, but to make it a nicer place to live as a whole. I think you only have to look at the legislation that the DUP has put forward this term to see that we are not only the most active party within Stormont, but we're also one of the most positive. We are supporting charities, we are supporting grieving parents, and our armed forces. And I think these are all very important things that the DUP has come out publicly in support of. I don't think any of the other parties, to be frank with you, can represent you quite as well as the DUP, who are dedicated to helping not only their constituents, but people right across Northern Ireland, regardless of your community. We don't discriminate between nationalist and unionist. And whilst we do have our core support, I'm going to be frank with you, within the Protestant unionist community, I think it's absolutely important to say that we've been reaching out to groups all across Northern Ireland to get their views on the issues that matter.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we'll move to Red Omega 83, leader of the Alliance Party.
Thank you very much for your question, Emily. The Alliance Party stands as a moderate voice in Stormont against a background of rampant sectarianism that persists to exist to this day. We have historically pushed for peace among the two communities of Northern Ireland and stand upon a platform of unity and prosperity. We will be the vessel to build a bridge of peace between a historically divided people and to continue to foster the progress created by the Good Friday Agreement for the betterment of all the people of Northern Ireland, including you, Emily. We will implement liberal pro-business reforms in the Northern Irish economy to benefit everyone, whether you're a farmer in County Tyrone or a small business owner in Belfast, by increasing purchasing power and employment. In this time of turbulence, there always needs to be compromise and reason, and we hope that the Alliance Party can grant these conditions to the people of Northern Ireland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we'll move to StyreotypicalLurker, the leader of the Northern Ireland Greens.
Thank you for the question. Unlike many other political parties in Northern Ireland, the Northern Ireland Green Party is both unionist and nationalist, both Catholic and Protestant. We would like to provide a vision of optimism rather than a vision of divided sectarian future. We will preach a message of positivity, of tolerance, of unity, of progress, of compassion, and of reason. We believe that this message will eventually prevail over the polarizing us versus them mentality which is prevalent throughout our political system and is constantly reinforced through various legislative procedures. We will strictly uphold the Good Friday Agreement and maintain the hard-earned peace throughout our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, StyreotypicalLurker. And finally, we'll move to Fewbuffalo, the leader of the new Unionist Party.
Thank you for a question, and I would like to give a simple answer to this. It's simply, the new unions are trying to become the new face of unionism in Northern Ireland. We reject former sectarian values, and we hope to implement unionist policies that work for everyone in Northern Ireland under a stable leadership. We hope to create a pro-business environment with a similar tax rate to the Republic of Ireland, which will allow businesses to easily migrate from the Republic to Northern Ireland, which will create jobs for many people and I believe will end poverty in Northern Ireland as we know it. What I promise to the people of Northern Ireland is I promise that the new Unionist we shall protect you. We shall protect your businesses. We shall protect your sense of self-worth. We have submitted many pieces of legislation which have promoted safe driving and other such great measures. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all your answers. Would any of the party leaders like to rebut any of the points made by any of the other leaders?
I would not mind stepping in, if you wouldn't mind.
Of course.
Okay, thank you very much. I have the utmost respect for the other people on this panel tonight because I believe they're all effective political operators in their own particular way. And whilst I don't think that they are quite to the standard that the DUP has provided for Northern Ireland, I think that each has something to say. However, I think it's very worrying that the new Unionist Party in particular are presenting themselves as the fresh face of unionism, when in my view, they don't really offer very much. They are the UUP light, in a way. And, you know, if you look at the history of my party, the DUP, the Reverend Paisley took the DUP from being a small fringe party to being the principal party in Northern Ireland. And I'd very much like to continue that legacy. However, I think that the reason that the Reverend Paisley was so effective and efficient in the way that he took the DUP to the top was that he had cohesive and strong policy, which appealed to a demographic which currently had a lack of representation within not only our legislation, but within the Assembly.
Okay, thank you very much, Pax. Does the new Unionist Party leader want to respond to that?
Yes, please. Well, to make it clear, I believe what the DUP is saying is complete and utter rubbish. Let me remind you that Mr. Ian Paisley was a vicious figure. He promoted sectarian values which have no place in the modern world of Northern Ireland. Therefore, it is just dangerous and utterly stupid to even draw comparisons to him. Now, I would like to also address the fact that he called the new unionists the UUP light. This is once again complete and utter codswallop. First of all, we have many policies which are completely different from the UUP, and we hope to promote a pro-business Northern Ireland, one with liberal values and with conservative economic values. Now, I'm not asking for much. I'm just asking for us to be a pro-business and pro-competitive Northern Ireland. Thank you very much. Okay,
thank you. And sorry, Pax, but we've heard a bit from you. I'd like to bring in some of maybe the other leaders. StyreotypicalLurker or Meg83, do you have anything else to add?
I would like to contribute to this argument by saying that at this time of division in Northern Ireland, I don't think that this sort of splitting within unionism is something that is necessarily contributing to the good of the people of Northern Ireland. I think that the approaches taken by parties like the Green Party and the Alliance Party towards unity and non-sectarianism is always going to better affect the people of Northern Ireland. And I think that this kind of infighting is taking away from the key issues like the economy that affect the people of Northern Ireland. And I think that the conversation will be much better devoted to these issues.
I think that specific issue regarding splitting the unionist vote will be raised in a question later on in the show. StyreotypicalLurker, is there anything you want to add?
I completely agree with my friend in the Alliance Party because and we cannot allow sectarian infighting to threaten the hard-earned peace that we have secured in Northern Ireland. People should only trust non-sectarian values to be able to behold this peace.
Okay, thank you. I mean, is there anything else that the other parties want to add in? One at a time, Pax, quickly.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to say that whilst the Alliance Party and I don't share many political views, I'm absolutely in agreement that it's important to put aside sectarianism. And I think that you're drawing a false comparison between unionism and sectarianism. Because if you look at the bills that the DUP in particular proposed, we were trying to get schools from different communities to communicate and work together. We are trying to improve public transport, and we are trying to improve cross-border emergency services. And now if those things are sectarian in your view, then I think you might have to look at a redefinition of the word.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and now Fewbuffalo, is there anything you wanted to add there?
Yes, of course. I would like to just state that I fully agree with my colleague, Jack, that he is completely correct. We cannot allow sectarian values to overtake what actually matters, which is the good of the people of Northern Ireland. Therefore, I completely reject the DUP's ideas that Protestant values should be implemented in schools, as they have multiple times pointed out.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I think we'll move to our second question. The second question is from Neil in County Down, and he says, what's the biggest lesson you've learned from Keelan D's resignation and the subsequent collapse of Stormont? First of all, we'll go to Reddit Omega, the leader of the Alliance Party.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to begin by saying that I'm not too experienced in these matters. I joined the Northern Ireland Assembly after this whole event happened, but I think that the sort of divisions in our executives only create bad problems for the Northern Irish people. And I think that it's important that we need to work on keeping our differences maintained, as opposed to letting silly things such as language bills and whatnot and divisions over the terms of the Good Friday Agreement bring down our government. Because I think that a huge part of what makes Stormont one of the greatest assemblies in the world is the power-sharing executive, which fosters cooperation between both sides of the divided community, and which will allow us to cooperate on a very huge level, which will benefit all of the people of Ulster for better.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move to PaxBritannicus, leader of the DUP.
Okay, thank you for your question, Neil. I think that the most important lesson that I've taken from the executive collapse is that there is a lack of communication between parties. Now, whilst I don't agree with very much on the big issues with the Solidarity Party or the Green Party, I think that it's absolutely important that we're all included in those important conversations which will define the future of Northern Ireland. Because given the makeup of the Northern Ireland executive, I think it's absolutely important that we all get together, get around the negotiation table on issues on which we can unite. So recently, I have proposed an idea where the Solidarity Party and I will cooperate on infrastructure projects which benefit business and the people of Northern Ireland. That's not a sectarian issue. That's not even a political issue. That's a practical issue. And I think that it's very important that parties from right across the political spectrum get together, sit down and talk.
Okay, thank you very much, PaxBritannicus. Fewbuffalo, you were obviously involved in the talks following the collapse of Stormont. What do you have to say to Neil's question?
Well, I would like to first of all thank him for his question, and secondly of all, I would like to bring up something that no one actually knows. What actually happened with the collapse is that the DUP interfered and asked the UP to basically remove themselves from the assembly. Now, I have been talking with the UUP multiple times over the past couple of weeks, and I can clearly state that the DUP have been manipulating the UUP, and it has caused a massive issue. The DUP are simply nothing more than manipulators and have caused much trouble to the people of Northern Ireland. And what I've learned from this is that we cannot trust the DUP, as it is just utterly horrible what they have done. They have lied to the public. They have lied to the House of Lords inquiry. They have been a complete and utter disgrace to the people of Northern Ireland.
Okay, I think I'll allow PaxBritannicus to respond to that just after StyreotypicalLurker. What do you want to say to that?
One community should not be able to hold the other hostage to attempt to force their demands, and both should be willing to work together to solve their respective differences constructively. Yeah, it's important that everybody is in communication with each other to try to avoid, sectarian misunderstandings. It's important that we create a dialogue of understanding across all of our communities.
Okay, thank you very much. And Patrick, you have something to say in response to Fewbuffalo?
Now, Fewbuffalo has come out with some very strong rhetoric and very strong words, and I think it's unfortunate that it's wrong, especially for the gentleman himself. And I think that it's very easy to misrepresent what's been said behind closed doors, but the fact remains that even if Fewbuffalo was at the talks, what he's saying is absolutely untrue. I can comprehensively say right now on this panel that my advice to the UUP leader was to act on his conscience rather than to influence the process. I told Keelan throughout the process that he should act on his conscience and do what he felt best for all communities in Northern Ireland. Not once did I tell the UUP leader to step out of the executive.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pax. Fewbuffalo, do you want to respond to that, and then we'll bring in StyreotypicalLurker and Reddit Omega in one.
Yes, thank you. As I have said many times, the DUP is not to be trusted, and this was not behind closed doors. I have talked to the UUP leader in the open, where he has confirmed this happening multiple times. The DUP have even tried to manipulate myself, and it is just an utter disgrace that this is basically happening in Northern Ireland. Now, I would also like to state that basically what the DUP have done is created a shadow state. They are trying to run the unionist community from behind closed doors and in back rooms. It is just an utter disgrace, once again, to the people of Northern Ireland that this is happening.
Once again, words, words, words. There's no substance to what you have to say, unfortunately. And I think that it's a grave injustice to the people of Northern Ireland that instead of discussing a substantive answer to Neil's question, you've decided to take the opportunity to attack my party, despite the fact that the DUP had minimal impact on the process, something which has been highlighted in my open-air conversations with members of Solidarity and with members of the public, which I'm sure if you'd like me to, I could refer you to.
Okay, thank you, Pax. So we'll move to our third question, and it's from Rory in County Down. He says, how would your party decrease the polarisation of Stormont regarding Irish language bills and Ulster Scots language bills if you were elected into government? First of all, we'll go to Fewbuffalo, leader of the New Unionist Party.
I would just like to state that my party support both the Ulster Scots Bill and the Irish Language Bill, as we believe all minorities should be represented in Northern Ireland, regardless of who they are or what they are. Now, I, of course, believe that the DUP will try and attack me for this and try and bring up the fact that there's other minorities in Northern Ireland, but I am referring to historical minorities in this moment in time. We can discuss details at a later date, but I believe that we should allow all minorities to be represented regardless of who they are, what they believe in, and yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we'll move to PaxBritannicus, the leader of the DUP.
Thank you for your question, Rory. I think that the best way that the DUP will move communities closer together within Stormont and within Northern Ireland is to continue with our positive legislative agenda. We have, in recent days, proposed bills which would make the Mourne Mountains a national park, which would increase jobs and tourism to the area. We have proposed a cross-community school cooperation bill, which will make sure that schools from different communities work together. And we are proud to support a reviewed Ulster Scots and Irish language bill. Now, I think that the changes that have been made to both of these bills following the executive collapse are very important, because my main reason for opposition is now gone from the Irish language bill. The road signage clause is said to be removed, according to my talks with Solidarity and their press releases. And I think that this kind of discourse between parties is actually what stops sectarianism within Northern Ireland. If people talk, we have less sectarianism, we have less violence, and we have less aggression within our political system.
Okay, thank you, PaxBritannicus. We'll move to StyreotypicalLurker, leader of the Northern Ireland Greens. What do you have to say in regard to Rory's question?
Like the classical liberals, I recognize that it's realistically impossible to wave a magic wand and erase centuries of culminating religious tensions, as well as violent sectarian conflict. Despite the fact that the language of street signs might seem like a relatively insignificant issue, it can be extremely inflammatory and emotionally charged. As I said earlier, it's important that we create a dialogue of understanding between the members of different communities. I will pledge to support a combined language bill that supports both Irish and Ulster Scots. And Northern Ireland has come a long way from the Troubles, even if that's kind of cliche.
Okay, thank you very much. And finally, Red Omega, the leader of the Alliance Party.
Thank you very much for your question, Rory. And I feel the same way about these issues. I think that it's an absolute disgrace that frequently in this parliament we have such sectarian polarization over issues like this. And I think that in the immediate wake of the collapse, the changes made to the bills were perfectly acceptable. And I think that this is something great that we have managed to overcome. I think that in future we need more cooperation on these issues, such as what we saw between the DUP and the Solidarity Party with the removal of road signage from the bill. And I think that the key parts of the bill have remained within the framework of the Good Friday Agreement. And I think that the compromise fostered here is extremely good. And I think that overall, Alliance will continue to foster this kind of compromise and to work with other parties to the best that we can to represent the interests of all people across Northern Ireland.
Okay, thank you very much. Would anyone else want to add something? I think PaxBritannicus, you had something to add?
Well, I think the leader of the New Unionist Party has something to say, so we'll
Oh,
let
okay,
him go
yes,
first.
sorry. Fewbuffalo, is there something you wanted to ask?
Yes, please. I would just like to ask a question to Britannicus. I would just like to ask him, what is this aggression he speaks of? Because I do not believe there's any aggression. He's just making up some buzzwords to appeal to voters, but unfortunately, he is failing quite badly.
Aggression is hardly a buzzword, I would point out, and I think that it's fairly aggressive that our political climate has got to such a state at which a Deputy First Minister feels the need to stand down due to debate over bills. I would call that aggression in spades, my friend.
Okay, thank you very much, PaxBritannicus. We've just got a little bit more time. Would you like to respond to that, Fewbuffalo?
No, thank
Would I be able to bring up a point if we have a little bit more time?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful. The New Unionist leader, Fewbuffalo, has just said that he is in support of both the Irish language and the Ulster Scots bill. And I think that's rather an interesting position for the particular person in question to take, given that in the second reading debate on the Irish language bill, he described Solidarity's actions in proposing the legislation as Irishification, which to me rings of the Russification which Stalin imposed on many of the Soviet countries. Do you still, Fewbuffalo, hold to the idea that Solidarity's actions can be compared to this kind of ethnic change?
Fewbuffalo?
Well, thank you for your question, Pax Britannicus. I would just like to answer with a simple answer to this quite complicated question, which I believe is the easiest solution to this. Well, yes and no. I believe that that is ethnic cleansing, but I do not believe it can be compared to Russification. Now, I am still in support of both the bills, even though in the second reading I was not, because the second reading included such things such as the road signs, which would put an economic strain on Northern Ireland by replacing all the signs. Therefore, let's think about the economic perspectives. Thank you.
Now for our fourth question, which is from Sally in County Armagh. First of all, she asked the parties where they stood on the referendum on leaving the European Union. And secondly, what would they do in government to benefit Northern Ireland from leaving the European Union? First of all, we will go to StyreotypicalLurker, leader of the Northern Ireland Greens.
Thank you for the question. I personally supported the Remain campaign, but I do I do accept the results of the referendum and what happens, but I don't think that we should give a blank check to the government to do whatever they want during it. Because during the most recent sessions of Minister's Questions, the Minister of State for Northern Ireland, the Honourable Fewbuffalo, gave multiple worryingly vague responses to various important questions on subjects regarding Brexit, including on a question about the single market. And despite claiming that the Northern Ireland office would release a statement on the issue shortly on numerous occasions, over 2 weeks later, there's not a single indication that any press release will become published. The government needs to ensure that the people of Northern Ireland are not receiving a blank check and that we can stay in the common market.
Okay, now we'll move to the leader of the New Unionist Party, Fewbuffalo.
Well, thank you for that question. Thank you for that question coming straight from Armagh, where I'm the Lord of Armagh, so it's a great question. Now, over the past couple of weeks, I've been speaking to my right honourable friend, the Dominion of Canada, who is the Secretary for Brexit. And I've talked to him about making sure that Northern Ireland is getting the best deal it can get. This would mean such things as remaining in the Common Travel Agreement. Now, myself and my right honourable friend have talked about this for long periods of time. And believe me, it is one of the most complicated issues that there is. Now, it is an utter disgrace that certain parties are trying to attack me instead of answering the question like the question should be answered. Now, we must remain in the Common Travel Agreement to have the best deal we can get for Northern Ireland. Now, that is all I'm going to say on this issue. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll now move to the leader of the Alliance Party, Rodamega83, on this issue.
Thank you very much for your question, Sally. I personally am a staunch Remain supporter. I still do believe that the UK and Northern Ireland would be far better off in the European Union. However, I respect the democratic mandate granted to the government by the people of the United Kingdom to push forward with Brexit and to just push forward with Brexit in general. However, I do believe that we, as StyreotypicalLurker has said, that we should not grant the government a blank check on this issue. There are key parts of this policy that there are key parts of the policy of Brexit that could be very damaging to the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland, such as, I believe, there is a key issue of the border with the Republic of Ireland. And I think something very important in the entire negotiations of this move of Brexit is that we need to negotiate with the Irish government, in particular the Taoiseach of the Republic of Ireland, Ryan, and to continue with the policy of open borders that we have with the Republic of Ireland, because a hard border would only divide our country and would only divide the island of Ireland and make it a more hostile place to be in. There are key issues that we need to address, such as that we should remain in the common market. We need to abide by many EU treaties, the European Convention of Human Rights, and I do think that I do think that the Brexit referendum did signal that the people of the United Kingdom wish to leave the European Union. I do not think that it decided how the people of the United Kingdom want to leave the European Union. And I think something that needs to be critically addressed is that upon the deals of the term being reached, we need to hold a second referendum on the deal and to decide whether or not the people of the United Kingdom accept the agreement.
Okay, thank you very much. And now move to PaxBritannicus.
Thank you for your question, Sally. I think it's a very good question to ask in a time like this, when there is so much uncertainty over Brexit for a lot of people in Northern Ireland. Now, I was a Leave supporter. I've always been a Eurosceptic. And I think that it's important to address the benefits that leaving the European Union will bring for Northern Ireland, as Sally herself asked. I think one of the most important things that will come from us leaving the European Union, both as a part of the United Kingdom and individually as Northern Ireland, is the fact that we will be getting, permitted by the government, more money. And that's simply much better. I will be fighting tooth and nail for my constituents for the government to reinvest more money into Northern Ireland following the European Union membership payments, which the United Kingdom government will now have access to instead of sending off that money to Brussels. Northern Ireland is in need of a lot of investment in a number of sectors, and I hope that the money from the Brexit negotiations, whether that be us remaining in the single market or leaving it, I hope that the money that we get back from our former membership fees can be reinvested into Northern Ireland, into the areas that matter.
Okay, thank you very much. And Fewbuffalo, did you have something to add there?
Yes, of course. I would just like to ask the DUP leader if he actually cares about businesses and about farmers, because obviously he doesn't, as he's talking about making the government pay for what the EU did. But what the honourable member is not understanding is the fact that we export a lot of stuff to the Republic of Ireland, which will basically mean that if we leave, it would be a horrible deal. It would be the worst deal in the history of deals. Now, it would ruin our exports. It would ruin our local economy. It would be an utter disgrace. We would lose out on millions and millions. That is all I'm going to say on this issue. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And PaxBritannicus, will allow you to respond to that.
Once again, thank you for giving me the right to reply.
Of course.
Are you a leaver, Fewbuffalo? Because you said in your statement previously that you were in favour of leaving the European Union. However, you've just gone on to say that the Brexit deal will be the worst deal in the history of deals, and you've gone on to say that farmers will be worse off. Now, as far as I'm concerned, you're part of the government, as am I, which is negotiating to leave the European Union. Is this defeatist rhetoric really the right way to go when trying to strike a deal with the European Union? I think not. I don't think it's positive for Northern Ireland, for the United Kingdom, or for the government to make broad statements.
Okay. On you go, Pax.
I don't think it's fair to make such broad statements, such as saying that this will be the worst deal in the history of deals. That's defeatist, and that's not the kind of rhetoric we need going into these important negotiations.
Okay, and Fewbuffalo, could you reply very quickly to that, and so we can bring the Red Door Omega?
Well, of course, the right honourable gentleman is a complete and utter liar. I did not state if I was a leaver or remainer, because of course I am a remainer, and I believe that we should remain. But of course, the people voted out, therefore we shall leave. There is no question about that. Now,
Okay.
the right honourable member is a complete and utter fool. He doesn't care about the farmers, as he has demonstrated in his previous statement. We will lose out on millions. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, and thank you very much. I think you had something to add there, Red Door Omega 83?
Yes, I did. I find a number of things about the statement of Pax Britannicus to be deeply troubling. I think that his black and white view of the EU membership fee is rooted in pseudoscience, essentially pseudo-economics. There's a huge part that we gain from being in the European Union, from having a market to share our goods without tariffs. If we left the common market and all these other different European policies, we would have huge problems with our economy that any amount of spending on European membership fees would not be able to resolve. We would have a huge amount of problems in that purchasing power would be reduced due to the cost of tariffs being passed on to consumers in the Northern Irish economy. And I think that ultimately, we need to reassess the fact that the membership fees don't mean much in the grand scheme of things, because we are more than reimbursed by them by all the benefits that we receive of remaining in many European policies, such as the European Common Market. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Pax, you can reply to that.
I would reply by asking the Alliance leader if he has any self-awareness. I think it's black and white in its very essence. The United Kingdom gets more money, gets less money back from the European Union than it actually puts in. This is fact. This has been proven on a number of occasions. You can go and look at the European Union's figures yourself if you'd like to.
This has been proven in direct investment.
I do understand that the United Kingdom, and especially areas such as Northern Ireland and West Wales, receive a lot of investment. However, this government has committed to reimbursing Northern Ireland in these particular areas and in these particular sectors. This has been aired in Minister's Questions more than once, and I think that it's absolutely important, instead of being defeatist about this Brexit deal, as many others on this panel have been, that we actually look at the positives and look at the opportunities, regardless of whether or not one voted to leave or to remain.
Okay, thank you very much.
Pax, you're ignoring a key part of this equation. You're equating everything in terms of direct investment. You're not talking about the benefits that all of the people of the United Kingdom receive in their daily lives from being part of the European Union, from European passports to many people having a common currency. This even occurs in different areas around the border in the north of Ireland. And we're seeing we're seeing lots of economic benefits granted in the form of no tariffs being imposed on goods coming into the UK. So I think that you are providing a very black and white deal, and you're ignoring the entire nuance of the economic situation of remaining in the European Union.
Well, there are 2 points there I'd like to address. First of all, I don't think a common currency is relevant to this discussion because, number one, the United Kingdom is not part of the euro. And number two, if you want to look at a policy to impoverish the Mediterranean, the euro is the right way to go. On the second point, this government is absolutely committed to working for a tariff-free deal with the European Union, and I think that's absolutely achievable. You don't have to be a member of the single market to contribute to it and to work with it. Canada is not a member of the single market, and yet it works with the single market and the single market members.
Okay, thank you, Pax. We're running out of time. We'll need to move on to our fifth question. Our fifth question is from Caroline in Belfast. She says, I'm a small business owner, however, I'm also very interested in the effects of climate change and environmental issues. What will your party do if elected into government to help these issues? First of all, we'll move to Red Omega 83. What do you have to say to Caroline?
I'd like to thank Caroline very much for her question. The biggest threat facing humanity is the threat of climate change. I would agree that it is a huge issue that needs to be addressed completely comprehensively. I think that that steps taken by the Paris Agreement and other different international agreements to address the issues of climate change are great steps towards resolving these issues. The Alliance Party would invest in all sorts of new green technology and aim to have the Northern Irish economy powered by green technology in as soon as the future as we can. However, we do accept that there is a lot of issues in regards to other different sources of power, and we think that it's important that we need to have comprehensive retraining programs to make sure that workers in fossil fuel industries are not left behind by the green technology revolution.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we'll move to Fewbuffalo, the leader of the New Unionist Party. What do you have to say in response to Caroline?
Well, once again, thank you for your question. It's one of the best questions we have seen in this panel. Now, I really do not believe that climate change is that big of an issue, but I still believe it is an issue. And with like all issues, we must deal with an issue. Therefore, we must work with the free market to create affordable solutions to combat climate change. We should not put harmful government regulations on such businesses, such as Caroline's, which will only hurt our economy. What we need to do is focus on the actual troublemakers, on the actual causes of these issues, and we need to create free market solutions for those issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to the rest of the panel, that Caroline also emphasised that she is a small business owner and wants to know how environmental regulation and climate change would affect her business. So with that in mind, we'll move to PaxBritannicus, the leader of the DUP.
Thank you very much for your question, Caroline. You see, I don't think that the ideas of responsible action on climate and positive policies for small businesses, I don't believe that those two ideas are incompatible. I think that we can improve Northern Ireland's environment, protect Northern Ireland's environment, and make sure that our effect on climate change is minimal, whilst also establishing a positive environment for new small businesses and existing small businesses. Now, the DUP if elected to the Northern Ireland Executive, would first of all look to improve infrastructure around Northern Ireland, because infrastructure absolutely attracts more businesses and makes business within Northern Ireland much easier and much more positive. However, improving infrastructure does not necessarily affect the environment, because that's a small business policy. However, on the environmental side, we support ideas such as establishing green areas, as proposed by the UUP recently to the Stormont Assembly, and things like making the Mourne Mountains a national park will ensure that our beautiful environment is protected. So in short, we'd like to separate small business policy and environmental policy, because we don't think that one necessarily has to tarnish the other.
Okay, thank you very much, PaxBritannicus. And we'll move to our final respondent to the question, StyreotypicalLurker, leader of the Northern Ireland Greens. How do you respond to Caroline?
Thank you for the question. This is definitely my subject area. Climate change is undeniably the biggest threat which we experience today. The Northern Ireland Green Party will prioritize environmental conservation in every action we take. Anthropogenic impacts on ecosystems have created a plethora of problems. It is increasingly evident that the pressing issue of climate change is the largest threat humanity has ever experienced before. Meanwhile, Northern Ireland has the least protected environment in the United Kingdom, which is completely unacceptable. Pollution happens regularly without consequence. Biodiversity is disappearing at an alarmingly quick rate, which threatens to endanger many native species. And in parts of our society, access to nutritious, healthy food is limited. It is important that Stormont contains a powerful environmentalist voice which is willing to acknowledge these critical issues.
Okay, thank you very much. And does anyone have anything they'd like to respond to any of the four respondents?
If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to step in.
Of course, you go, Pax.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to ask a question to the leader of the New Unionists, as he seems so fond of asking questions to me. You said that climate change is not as big of an issue as some have made it out to be. In my view, climate change is actually the issue of this century and this decade, because what's the point in unionism and nationalism when we're all 50 feet underwater thanks to global warming?
Well, thank you for the question. First of all, can I see your science behind that? And secondly of all, we can use the free market solutions that I've mentioned earlier to combat this issue instead of wasting government funds on things that don't actually matter, things that will not affect us at all. We need free market solutions. This will mean that climate change prevention will be affordable, it will be easy to access, and we will all have some sort of device. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Fewbuffalo. And I think the leader of the Alliance Party had something to add to that.
Yeah, I'd like to pose a question to the leader of the Green Party, who just produced an answer based entirely on this kind of feel-good politics. I noticed that there was lots of talk in the answer given, and that there was lots of being a strong voice of environmentalism. And I'd like to ask the leader of the Green Party if he has any solid policies, such as Alliance's policy to retrain workers in the fossil fuel industry, and what these policies would be and how they would help to resolve the environmental issues that the entire planet faces.
Okay, and StyreotypicalLurker, you can respond to that.
So, as you can see, our manifesto has tons of policies our manifesto has tons of policies than stuff that's not on environmental issues. So we have we're not a single issue party, and we have tons of policies on the economy and on the European Union and other things that will hopefully be attractive to voters. And we're not just rhetoric.
Great.
We have solid policies that we believe will make the country of Northern Ireland a better place.
Okay, great, thank you. We need to just start things up really quickly. We can get a right of reply there from the leader of the Alliance.
Yeah, I just that's not the question asked. The question asked is you produced an answer to the resolutions you have with the environment. I understand that the Green Party is not a single issue party. I just want to know what solid policies your party does have to resolve the environmental issues facing Northern Ireland and all people of the planet.
Really quickly in there, please, then StyreotypicalLurker.
Yeah, among our policies, we have policies to create additional biodiversity. We have policies to create a new Green Deal, which would not only help reduce carbon emissions, it would provide thousands of jobs. And I do support initiatives that would retrain workers employed in industries like the natural gas industry to be able to retrain to have skills and to get jobs in the renewable energy sector. And yeah, we have tons of policies, specific policies.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll move to the sixth and final question for this closing statements. And it comes from Stephen in County Armagh, and he asks, considering the parties have a unionist or nationalist split, would a electoral alliance between the nationalist or unionist parties benefit their voice in Stormont and more accurately represent the voters? We'll go to the alliance leader, Red Omega 83.
I think that the most important thing that we need to be doing in Northern Ireland is desectarianizing our policies. I do agree that with the questioner that electoral alliances between parties could be potentially very good. I think that our parties need to deal more on economy terms as opposed to our religious terms or cultural terms. I think that this is a huge part of modernizing the Stormont Assembly is that we need to foster compromise between nationalist and unionist parties, and we at Alliance consider ourselves to be a product of this compromise, and we do think that overall that this kind of compromise is needed in order to ensure a better future for all of the people of Ulster.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we'll move to StyreotypicalLurker, the leader of the Northern Ireland Green Party.
Yeah, being a land secretary and party, I'm willing to work with anybody who I believe can uphold my values, regardless of their designation, nationalist or unionist. And especially for the upcoming by-election, I will definitely consider working with anybody, as long as I believe that they are committed to non-sectarianism and protecting the environment.
Okay, thank you very much. And Fewbuffalo of the Unionist Party.
Thank you for that question. And of course, I have negotiated a few voting deals over the past month, but unfortunately, just last week, or to be more precise, just a few days ago, these deals have fallen apart due to the fact that the DUP are just horrible people that have broken all their promises. Now, I am open to having voting deals with anyone, literally anyone. I do not care about what they believe. I care about what they can bring to the people of Northern Ireland. If you have a good policy and if you stand for something, that allows me to consider you in some certain respects. Now, that is all I'm going to say on the issue. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And PaxBritannicus, you can respond to the question, but also if you maybe want to respond to the comments made by the leader of the National Unionist Party.
Wonderful, thank you very much. I think that I will start with a response to Fewbuffalo's comments, because I think that that was a very poor way to answer what is a very important question. You've taken the opportunity there to attack the DUP over something in which we've had no hand. you cannot describe comprehensively the DUP as horrible people, because as far as I know, you do not know everybody within the DUP. You might have your personal disagreements with me, and you've made that quite clear this evening, and you're absolutely entitled to have those. However, I do not think it's fair to attack the DUP in the manner that you did. However, to answer the question, I think that due to Northern Ireland's voting system, an electoral alliance, as we see in the first past the post seats in normal Westminster elections, is not really all that beneficial because of the preferencing system we have in Northern Ireland, which ensures that even if voters don't get exactly who they put first on their ballot, they're more likely to get somebody that they agree with. I don't think that the Northern Irish voting system is unrepresentative, and I don't think it forces parties to the fringe. It gives everybody the opportunity to air their voice and gives everybody the opportunity to find some representative within the Stormont Parliament.
Okay, thank you very much. I would let more people respond, but we're running out of time. All we have now is to finish with our concluding statements. Each concluding statement from each party will be a maximum of 1 minute long. First of all, we'll go to Fewbuffalo, leader of the New Unionist Party.
Thank you for allowing me to have this chance to basically speak to the people of Northern Ireland in this very, very good day. Now, I would like to just say a small quote from Margaret Thatcher. She said, "Pennies do not come from heaven. They have to be earned here on earth." Now, that is basically the New Unionists in a nutshell. We believe that everything has to be earned in one way or another. We cannot generate wealth from some random source that doesn't exist. That is just horrible economics. That's voodoo economics, if you ask me. Now, there is a clear choice in this election. There is a choice between a responsible economic party, and then there's also the DUP.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now we'll move to the leader of the Northern Ireland Green Party, StyreotypicalLurker. What do you have to say in your concluding statement?
We're gonna keep this incredibly short and simple. And the upcoming elections, whether it be another Stormont election or the upcoming by-elections, think incredibly carefully about who you choose to vote for. We cannot allow sectarianism to prevail.
Okay, thank you very much. And Reddit Omega 83, leader of the Alliance Party.
First of all, I'd like to begin by thanking the BBC for hosting this debate. This is a wonderful opportunity for all the party leaders of the Northern Irish Assembly that actually managed to show up to promote our policy and to give the people of Northern Ireland a chance to see what we are all about. I do think that the Alliance Party is committed to fostering the unity and prosperity of Northern Ireland. And I do think that compromise is one of our key values and one that we will continue to promote in Parliament. Liberal values and social justice are key to the society of Northern Ireland, and we think that, and we will do everything we can to defend them. Again, I'd like to thank the BBC very much for hosting this debate, and I hope that you will all cast a ballot for the Northern Irish Alliance Party.
Okay, thank you very much. And finally, PaxBritannicus, leader of the DUP.
I'd like to first of all reiterate Jack's comments by thanking the BBC for giving us all an excellent opportunity to air our personal opinions and our party's opinions. I think it's quite clear to the people of Northern Ireland and to the people on this panel which parties have come here tonight with a legislative agenda that they want to present, who have provided clear answers on the issues that matter, as opposed to negative demagoguery on or during their opportunities to answer questions which truly address the big issues in Northern Ireland. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And next, thank you to all of our panelists tonight on the show, the Stormont Election Special. Next week, we'll be live from Croydon. Until then, thank you very much.